Hey everyone, so I really enjoyed listening and viewing your presentations. Something I really like, hopefully, if we can get it, is to actually be able to read everyone's case studies at the end of the course, just because I'd like to read further and see your research. I'm that kind of person. I know that might sound weird, but I'd really like to actually read through the case studies. So something I noticed with our group is that Michael covered specifically on like code red lockdowns and security and safety in that aspect, whereas Murphy and Amy covered bus transportation and operational procedures and discipline as well. So I found that very interesting. So starting with Murphy, something that I liked in his specific case study is he focused on giving different quotes and giving precedents from research supporting his argument, such as when he said that 71% of parents felt that the Columbine shooting changed their views of how safe their children were at school. This made me think about this year at my school, we have implemented all of our staff has to fob in to get in and out of the different buildings. So students have to be let in by staff, or if other students are entering or leaving, exiting or entering the building. So sometimes that can also cause some concern of is our students just letting anyone in. But I would be curious to see how our parents feel about that when they do their mid-year survey. Also, what I wanted to know too is how do you train your staff to take this information seriously? A lot of times just the protocol and policies are introduced that first week of school and teachers are overwhelmed and sometimes they don't take it all in. So how do we create different trainings to help teachers take it seriously? But also, with that being said, our substitute teachers. So today we had over 10 subs on campus. My school has 90 teachers, so that's still a pretty good amount of 10 subs. So if we were to go into a code red, either lockdown or drill, how truly equipped are they in the protocols and training? And then I also was curious of how do we implement other social emotional learning as educators to help meet the needs of all of our students, and how do we provide training from guidance to help educate on mental health? I think that's very vital too, that you discussed a little bit in your case study. And then Murphy and Amy discussed bus safety, discipline, and operational procedures. Murphy, I really like that you looked at the lens of EC students, and you also quoted information from previous readings, such as the one that stated that students are 70% more likely to reach school safely than other means of transportation. And I see that a lot in my school because a lot of times most of our students are bus drivers, but if they already get dropped off by their parents, a lot of times they're late due to car complications. They're not normally new cars, so they break down a lot, or they get in car accidents. And so I also agree that just even having routine routes are safer than non-routine routes. And that's the case for bus drivers. When we have bus drivers that are subbing for other routes, we tend to see that students get home later or there's accidents just because they're not familiar with that route. Specifically in Wake County Public Schools, we have an application that parents can actually view where their students are. So that's pretty neat as well. That kind of helps. Also, you discussed about PBIS and that you've seen a 10% decrease in behavior in your case study. My school also uses PBIS, and sometimes we see that when we do have lockdown drills, students do get written up, and that counts against them for not being able to go to PBIS. So how do we create a culture of, having students understand that even drills are important and we need to take them seriously? And with that being said, I also am going into Amy's. That kind of what I found interesting is she focused on a first-year principal's perspective, so it focused more on the relationship between the driver and the students as well in her case study, which I found was really interesting, that she went more in depth about with her case study versus Murphy. And I just found that it's truly very vital that whether we're looking at PBIS and behaviors or just overall a school culture, it's very vital that administrators, drivers, bus drivers, students, all stakeholders need to build relationships, and that really impacts student behavior. So something that I really thought about when hearing about Amy's case study was, how do we build a bus driver morale so that they don't leave? Obviously, it's a difficult task getting students home and also bringing them to school, especially depending on their students on their bus routes. We have one bus route similar to the case study where we can't ever keep a bus driver for. It's just a lot of behaviors, and it's more of a further commute. So how do we keep bus drivers around and boost morale, but also build that relationship? I know a lot of times in the previous school I was in this year, bus drivers tend to know more about our students than even we do as educators, just because they're the first ones that see them and they're the last ones that see them at the end of the day. So they truly know what environment those students are living in. They see them at their weakest, but also at their strongest, full emotional sense. So I think it's very vital that we take bus drivers and take their voice and use it in a positive manner, such as voicing them in school improvements. We did an activity at my old school where we put the pictures of the students up throughout the lockers, and we went around and wrote what we knew about the students. And believe it or not, when the bus drivers came in, they sometimes wrote double, triple about students than all the teachers and the staff in the school building. So I just think it's vital that we use the voices of the bus drivers and boost that morale, but also create a culture of collaboration between all. And that's something that I learned throughout this course of, no matter what the managerial topic is or skill it may be, that's so important to really sharpen our skills in communication and collaboration, but also truly building relationships. So I really valued watching your case studies, and I look forward to collaborating more.